Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Credit card skimmer gets what he bought with my card, and a bit extra. This story starts off with a slightly less humorous fact. A few days ago, I was the unfortunate victim of credit card fraud. The fraudsters decided to take my credit card info and purchase $1,000 worth of car parts from Philadelphia and have it sent across the border to the city I currently live in Canada. Normally, this is where the story ends. Sometimes they get away with it, sometimes they don't. But either way, my card is replaced and I continue on living my life. This, however, is where the fun starts happening. I get a call in the morning about a DHL shipment entering the country that's required customs to be paid. Knowing I haven't shipped anything with DHL in forever, they're the worst, I quickly come to the realization that it must be the fraudsters shipping their goods here. It can't be, I thought. Who in their right mind would use a stolen card to order something to their own house in the city the owner of the card lives in? After a brief chat with DHL about the customs fees I would not be paying, I managed to obtain the address the package was being sent to. I hemmed and hawed about it, but eventually decided the best thing to do was call the local police department and let them know what was up. I told the officer all about the situation, that unfortunately I did not know what car the parts were for, and that I hope this info helps them somehow in the future. He tells me that the chances are slim, but he'll swing by the house, it's literally 15 minutes from my own, just to see if anything weird is going on and follow up with me if he needs to. I thank him and go on with my workday. About an hour later, I get a call from the same officer, obviously excited. Hi, Entitledparents, it's Officer X. You'll never guess what just happened. I was following up on the report and drove by the house. I decided to knock on the door just to see if anybody was home and ask them a couple questions. A man opened the door, and as we were talking, DHL drove up to deliver the package. Yeah, that's right, the exact package we'd been discussing. The delivery driver walks up to the door and says, "Hi, is Entitledparents here?" To which the man replies, "Oh yeah, he's downstairs." You can imagine my surprise. That's pretty funny because I just got off the phone with him and I know for a fact he doesn't live here. The guy, no joke, looked me dead in the face and goes, "Oh, whatever, the package is paid for." I chuckled and turned to the DHL driver to tell him he should leave because I need to make an arrest. I'm calling you while I drive back to the precinct. Thought it might brighten your day. I still can't believe they caught the guy, but thought it was a story that was too good not to share. Actual justice from law enforcement. The story almost restores some of my faith in the universe. And our next story. F with my car, lose your home. Hey everybody, I'm a longtime lurker and big fan of this sub. This is also my first post, so here's my obligatory apology for any formatting errors and the length. I condensed this post as much as I could, but needed to include relevant background. I never thought I'd have any interesting stories to post here that would qualify as pro-revenge, but boy did the world have other plans for me. Or should I say my butthole neighbors did. Background. I should start by saying that I don't live in the best area of town, but it wasn't absolutely awful until summer began, when my next-door neighbors' teenage kids and their friends had nothing better to do than loiter around all day and be loud and commit petty crimes. The people below my next-door neighbors had a rock thrown through their window. Several neighbors had minor car damage like dents from them sitting on cars or throwing basketballs around and inevitably hitting cars. These tools would bang on people's doors for the fun of it, and often sit in a large group clogging up the only stairs up to my apartment and be rude when I would try to step over or around them. They never stood up for a second to let me by. I should add that 2 or 3 families lived next door in a 2-bedroom unit. Literally 12 to 15 people, way over capacity. They also had friends over constantly and would yell and scream and fight with each other all the time. Luckily, never too late at night, though. Despite all of these nuisances, I never complained about them. Sure, it was obnoxious as hell, but I'm not really a complainer, and I wasn't losing any precious sleep. I'm a pretty easygoing tenant. I pay my rent and bills on time every month. My dog never barks, etc. The events. Unfortunately for my good neighbors and myself, their crimes escalated in severity. They actually broke into my cool downstairs neighbor's place. He caught them red-handed trying to steal his stuff. He called the cops and made a police report and everything, but somehow nothing was done. I suspect it's because he used to be cool with these neighbors and actually look after and fed some of their kids, so he had a relationship with them, and they'd been in his place before. Anyway, them breaking into his place really freaked me out, because my downstairs neighbor is a huge, scary-looking guy. but actually is super nice. While I'm a 22-year-old girl who lives with 2 other girls my age, so if they would break into his place? I contemplated getting security cameras for my own place after the downstairs neighbor told me what happened to him and showed me his new setup. But unfortunately, before I could, that's when it happened. Days later, when I got up in the morning to go to school, my tire was completely flat. They slashed my tire. I was livid. I had never done anything to any of them. My tires are good quality tires and were brand new, literally 3 weeks old and a gift from my dad. I barely had the money to replace my slashed tire. As most of you probably know, car insurance and tire warranties don't cover vandalism to tires. So I had to buy the replacement in full. I was so enraged at this point. These craps had been committing crimes, destroying property, and basically getting away with it despite complaints to management and police reports. I swore to my girlfriend and myself that day that I would see to it that these horrible people would get evicted. I didn't care how long it took. I knew it was a matter of time before they did something else that would warrant it. After I filed a police report, I showed my manager the pictures of my clearly slashed tire to file a complaint. He promised if they get one more complaint of property damage, they would be out. I also got that security system I wanted. The revenge. Well, the revenge isn't the most glamorous or exciting revenge. What did I do? I documented everything. Every time they clogged the stairs, which they'd been warned about multiple times, every time they were exceptionally loud, which they had been warned about multiple times as well, every time they did anything that would count as a violation that I'd overlooked in the past, nope, F these people. Easygoing Quinari QT was no more. Not for them. My apartment manager actually encouraged me to report them for every little thing. I suspect because he was sick of these a-holes too. But I knew before I would send him my compiled report, I had to have something good. So 2 weeks passed. I hardly saw them around. All quiet on the Western Front, until they finally came back, thinking that they'd laid low just long enough that the heat was off of them. Since the tire slashing incident, I've been parking at the building across the parking lot instead of right in front of my own building because that's where they always used to hang out. On Sunday, I caught one of these buttholes sitting on the hood of my car talking to a bunch of the others, but they all ran away before I could yell at them to get off my car. Upon further inspection, I noticed that there was actually a large, shallow dent on my hood from them repeatedly sitting on my car. My roommate's car had a similar dent, and I see them sitting on my downstairs neighbor's friend's car all the time. Well, today, I decided to park right in front of my apartment where I used to park in full view of my new security camera. Lo and behold, footage of them sitting and banging on my car. I sent my manager the angriest email I could muster while still maintaining completely respectful language, with the footage attached, of course. I told him something must be done. I got an email back within minutes thanking me for notifying him and informing me that he would serve them a notice to vacate tomorrow. They will have 30 days. F with my car, lose your home. As I type this, sipping my fresh iced tea, I can hear those craphead kids playing basketball, probably hitting more cars in the process, and shouting and laughing. I can't help but smile knowing they won't be laughing for long. And our last story. Busybody, stay-at-home mom neighbor harasses me until my restraining order kicks her out of her house. I lived across the street from a very bored stay-at-home mom whose excess idle time turned her into an insufferable busybody. Her husband backed out of the driveway and slammed into my roommate's car parked on the curb. He apologized, gave us insurance info, and took care of it. He was never a problem because he accepted responsibility for what he did. His wife, however, demanded that we never ever park any cars at the curb again because we can't get out of our driveway otherwise. The street was very wide. She was just completely unable to accept that the accident was her husband's fault and figured we were somehow responsible for it. Ergo, we were responsible for preventing it in the future. We told her that we would avoid parking there whenever possible, but that we still had the legal right to park on the street, and that if necessary, we would still do so. And that it was her husband's responsibility to avoid hitting other people's legally parked cars when backing out of the driveway. She wasn't happy with that answer, but just told us we better stay out of her family's way and stormed off. One day she came storming over, banging on the front door, cussing us out. When we got her on our security camera saying, "If you don't move that effing car in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to effing total it with my truck. It'll be your fault, and you'll have to pay for the damage to my effing vehicle." To this, I simply responded, I don't know whose car that is, but I didn't park it there. I have you on camera, so if you do anything to that car, I'll have to call the police and hand over this tape." She then threatened to sue me for invasion of privacy for recording her and still insisted that we move the car even though it wasn't our property. We just ignored her. She didn't do anything to the car. We did keep the recording, though. A few weeks later, I had a friend visit from out of town. He parked his car on the curb, then started unloading some stuff from his trunk. She came storming out, screaming and cussing at him. "I've told you repeatedly, never park your effing car on this curb. If you don't move it, I'm going to effing total it, and you can effing pay for a new GD car, as well as the damage you do to mine." He tried to calm her down and asked if there was somewhere else he could park, and she replied, "You can park it in hell, because that's where you'll be after I effing kill you." Unfortunately for her, he had his dash cam running the whole time, and it captured everything. He called the police, and she was arrested for threatening to commit vandalism and for threatening violence. A few days later, she left a long-winded hate letter in our mailbox, written as if it were an open letter from the entire neighborhood. And it basically said that nobody knows who you are, and everybody wishes you would move away, and nobody wants you living in our neighborhood. Thing is, she forgot about the security cameras. I took the video of her opening my mailbox, which included her taking all of our letters out of the mailbox and rifling through them. I gave them to the post office. This led her to getting arrested for a second time that week. After that, we used her 2 arrests, our collection of security and dashcam footage, and her letter to get a restraining order against her that actually prohibited her from entering her own home. Then we called the police every time we saw her because she was in violation of the order. She ended up having to live in a hotel, and her husband came over, apologized to us, and asked if we would drop the restraining order so his wife could come home. I told him I would do it, but only if she wrote me, my wife, our roommates, and the friend of mine she threatened a 1-page apology for her harassment, and that she would promise to never, ever contact us again for any reason whatsoever moving forward. I received no apology, and the house went on the market a week later. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.